Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Sequel Q&A. My name's Doug. So the next sequel that we're going to be covering, I know, don't be mad at us. There's no Friday the 13th until next year, but it was fitting because I have a little sequel on the way. So we are covering Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. And for it, I got to say, our first Friday the 13th final girl. And I was lucky enough to talk with Pam Roberts. Wow, so much fun to talk with actress Melanie Kinnaman. Melanie has so many cool behind the scenes stories from how she landed the role right away, filming of it, really the legacy of it when it comes to, you know, the fan reactions and the people that reached out and how much they love it. But also the other side of it. Like when she first started going to conventions and people were pretty rude, you know, the way fandom can get in anything, sports, movies, pop culture, people can be pretty nasty. So we talk about that part of it as well, but obviously the good, taking the good, block out the bad. And Melanie's such a positive person. So we talked about her journey from Massachusetts. Her mom would drive her into New York City to audition. She was a dancer and then she started acting. On Broadway, off Broadway. Heck, she played Cheryl Ladd in a sketch on Saturday Night Live back in the 70s with the original cast when they did Battle of the Network Stars. She played Cheryl Ladd. So cool. Then she landed at General Hospital and then a few commercials that are so cool. And the money in commercials back then, like so many guests have said that, but when you hear the amount, you're going to be like, holy crap, that's something. And then, of course, Pam Roberts, Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. And then we talk about Best of the Best. So in her IMDb, it says The Woman. But the real story about her role is pretty wild that you're going to have to listen to it. You're going to have to listen to it. And do me a favor, please subscribe wherever you're listening and rate us. Man, rate us and follow us on all social media at Sequels Only. Tell your friends, tell everybody. And like I said, me and my wife have a new beginning coming, a little baby boy. So, yeah. So without further ado, here is actress Melanie Kinnaman. So this would be awesome. I love finding out how people started, not obviously what I love you from, A New Beginning, but really just how everything began. I think origin stories are the greatest thing because Hollywood is the craziest job to pursue. The lawyer, doctor, there's a better success rate, but there's just something that draws people to the lights. And I love finding that out. So you grew up in Massachusetts?
I grew up in Holyoke, Massachusetts, and I started out as a dancer, singer, and I started really young. When I got old enough, around 12 or 13, I would go into New York City with my mother. And
oh, nice. I'm in Jersey, so yeah, not too far.
Yeah. So my whole plan was to just get out of high school and get to New York City. So I would go when I was old enough with my mother and I would audition for stuff and learn things and meet teachers and go to classes. So that's how it really started. That's the nutshell of the very beginning.
What made you want to pursue it? What was it at an age? Was it seeing somebody on TV or did you know somebody that danced or?
My sister's also a dancer. My older sister.
Okay.
There's three of us, my brother and sister. I'm the youngest and they both wanted to dance. My sister was professional. She was a Broadway dancer. So that was something to aspire to. But I didn't do that. It's interesting because because she was my big sister, I thought I would go the same route and I wanted to be an actress. So, but my way in was the dancing and singing. So I did shows, musical shows, and I'd be in the chorus or stuff. And then I started getting commercials that were singing and dancing commercials. And that's how I really got in. But I started out, really young. And my idols at that time growing up, I loved Joel Grey, Bernadette Peters, and Julie Andrews. And Dick Van Dyke is my all-time ultimate idol because he can do everything. So I grew up watching these people and I just aspired to be just like them.
Dick Van Dyke's still doing it. Even like
doing it.
a year ago or 2 years ago, it's like some of these people, they do what you can do when you're, 90 something years old. You can go away and not have to be on TV anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had like that, his car started on fire randomly and it was like already all over the news. And he's like joking around with people. And I'm like, this guy's still doing it no matter what. He's that guy.
And he's still great. Still great. But those were my idols.
Yeah.
So that I had that beacon I was following, but also just luckily I had the ability to do it. I had some talents, and so I kept getting reinforcement that I was on the right track.
Nice. I don't know if IMDb is always right, but were you on Saturday Night Live as Cheryl Ladd?
Yeah, I did. I don't know if you remember because you're young, but they had Battle of the Network Stars that they used
yeah.
So Saturday Night Live did a spoof on it, which was hilarious. Great. I mean, Belushi was in it. It was in the heyday. I did it in 1978. So
that's still
the original cast. It was phenomenal. And the musical guests that night were the Rolling Stones.
Oh my God.
So that was my Saturday Night Live. It was great. Yeah.
How'd you get that? Just an open casting call? You go in?
I did an audition. They saw, I'm sure, a bunch of people. It was an interesting audition. Like I said, Gilda Radner was there, Belushi. And they just threw out a bunch of things for me to do. And I had to do stunts, like those silly things that they make you do on the network stars. So, they wanted to see if I could physically do all this stuff. But it was goofy. It wasn't really serious. And it was fun.
Oh, my God. Were they doing the after parties still back then? Was that always a thing? Like, yeah?
Mm-hmm. That was
nice.
Yep.
Nice. So then like right around then is when the commercials, because I was trying to find them. Because I always try to like find these things, but it was like Dr. Pepper, Coca-Cola.
I have it. Sometimes I post it on Facebook, so I have it.
I'll have to look for it.
Maybe I'll put it up so you can find it. It was hard to find.
Okay.
So I couldn't find it years ago, and a fan found it and sent it to me. So now I have the link and I have it permanently. Yeah. Nice. I don't know how they found it. They
did. Yeah. Like Atari, I'm like, oh, there's probably a few Atari commercials. I just watched earlier today 15 Atari commercials from 1982, and you're not in it.
No. I don't know. I did a bunch. Most of them were unique, singing and dancing, or I had to sing with a chicken for Arid deodorant. Silly things. But in those days, it was fun. It was the late 70s, early 80s. They were very creative. And it was a big production. It was like doing a Broadway show on a lot of these things.
And the money was good back then. I interviewed a big-time character actor. He was in this guy, Peter Jason. He was he moved all the way to Jersey just to do commercials. And he did like 300 commercials over 10 years. And he was talking about how good the money is versus just like a small TV role.
My first commercial, my first big one, I did a couple before that. They were smaller markets, but the first big one was the Dr. Pepper. And I made $30,000.
Oh my God.
When it first started airing, because it was a national 60-second, a full minute commercial. Yeah. My first check was $30,000. And I was 19. I was 19. So I thought, okay, this is good. I can do this.
I can do this, yeah. And all this time, are you in New York full time yet, or are you still?
Yeah, I moved to New York when I was 18. I went to make my mother happy. I was going to college, but I started getting work right away, so I left college. To this day, she was upset about it, but yeah, it worked out. You're kind of scared because you're thinking, okay, I'm leaving stability and college to pursue this thing. And, but when I got that first check for $30,000, I said, okay, I think I made the right decision.
Yeah. And New York was good at that time. And I'm not saying it's not good now, because obviously you have Broadway, you have soaps were all here, right? All the soaps originated here.
Everything was there. Yes. I would have never moved to Los Angeles had the industry changed, and a lot of things left New York in the 80s and moved to Los Angeles. But when I first moved to New York, you could do film, Broadway, all kinds of theater. I did all kinds of off Broadway stuff. You could do commercials. And you said the soaps. So there was no reason to leave. I love New York City.
Yeah.
I never had to leave. But again, things shifted in the 80s and came out here. Also, if I hadn't left, I wouldn't have done Friday the 13th. If I stayed in New York.
I was wondering like how that came to be, because I've interviewed people that were in other ones, not from A New Beginning, Part 5. They were in other ones, and they just happened to be either like a regional cast or they were casted out of LA. Yeah. So what had you go out to LA? Was it just you did a few shows and you're like, let me get out there now?
I did a bunch of stuff in New York, and I saw how things were shifting. And I thought, if I don't get on a soap permanently or get a Broadway show, I have to figure out what I'm going to do next. So cold turkey, I went to New York. I left New York and went to LA. I had no friends out. I didn't know anybody, but I said, I have to do it. So you get here and you have to get a car and an apartment, all the normal stuff when you go to a new place. So I did all that, and I started going auditions, and I started getting work. But it was very scary because it's very different from New York. The people are very different. And I'm just a New Yorker. I'm an East Coast girl. So I lost that comfort.
Just the driving aspect. Oh, yeah.
The comfort. And like I said, the people were different. So it was a whole acclimation to the whole thing. But I got part on General Hospital after I had been here maybe 4 or 5 months. And that was only supposed to be on, I think it was only supposed to be on 6 weeks or something. It was an added character, but I ended up being on 6 months. So that made me get comfortable in Los Angeles. And I was auditioning for other things. And then I got my favorite show. I got to guest star in Hill Street Blues.
Nice.
That was my favorite show. So that was a big thrill. And I thought, okay, I guess I'm going to give this LA thing a shot, and stay.
Wow. Well, that's good. No matter what, if you want to do it,
mm-hmm.
There's always a time frame in your head that you're like, all right, I'll give it X amount of time. But it's so good that it hit early, because then you have like that, okay, the monkey's off your back. And then it's easier to work because you're not stressing about it because you already have that first job. Because usually people that I talked to that around that time when there were so many more shows that were coming out, even though there wasn't a lot of networks still at that time, if your face was on TV, then it'd be like, all right, you could do, they hired you? All right, we'll give you a shot. So that's cool. Like right after General Hospital, you get Hill Street Blues.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure you're auditioning before Friday the 13th comes up a few years later, right?
Yeah, I did a movie just before. I think I wrapped probably 6 months before Friday the 13th audition. I had done another film called Thunder Alley. It was a musical.
Oh, nice.
Not a rock band. And so I got 2 back-to-back. I got that one, and then I got the audition for Friday, and got Friday pretty quickly. I mean, I think I had 2 auditions, and I got it right away. And they contacted me right away. And luckily I didn't know anything about Friday the 13th. I had never seen.
Oh, you didn't?
Never seen one. And also, I didn't know that they were looking across the country. They auditioned people from LA to New York and Chicago and, everything for this role. And luckily I didn't know that. So I went in and I read, and then they brought me back, and it was in front of everybody, the director, the head of Paramount, all of that stuff. And I think that was about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. This is before cell phones. And I got home, and 2 hours later, they called me at home. So there was none of that 5,000 auditions, callbacks, waiting for the phone to ring. There was none of that. It was so quick. I couldn't believe it.
That's good. Yeah. Did you know it was a Friday film from the beginning? Like you personally, did you know it?
I did. They told me, but it meant nothing to me because
okay, that's good.
I hadn't seen any of them. So when I got cast in it, I said, I really need to see part 4 because I've never seen these films, which shocked them. And I said, I really need to see at least what happened immediately before this film. So then seeing it, and I liked it a lot, and I thought Kimberly Beck was great. and I kind of knew her personally. We had the same agent, so I would run into her. So that made me relax and go, okay, I know what the concept is. And it was completely different in part 5, as you know.
Yes.
But I kind of knew what I was getting into after seeing part 4.
Yeah. No. So did you know the whole script? Did they give you just sides, or did you read the whole thing?
Well, when I auditioned, it was just sides, and then when I got the role, they gave me the whole thing. So I knew from beginning to end what the deal was.
That's cool. If you watch, because I love watching the Crystal Lake Memories, and I think it's so cool the things that you share in there. But when you, if you've ever seen it, when Harry Manfredi, who, you know, scores all the movies and a ton of other movies, he talks about how much he loved this movie because, and I believe him, it seems like he was scoring while he watched it. And he goes, even I didn't, I didn't know till the very end, like who it was. And I think that's what's so cool about The Installment. I think it's like taking from what you said to be in a movie that has, it's not like people are like, it's more like, I love it, or the opposite reaction. So it's pretty cool to be in something that is that much of a, like a lightning rod of a series.
It's really interesting. The love-hate, it's extreme. I mean, I've not done anything and I don't know anything. I'm sure there are many other films, but I can't think of one. Nobody I know personally has experienced such extreme love and hate for a film and for a part. I mean, for a character I played. So it was a shock.
Yeah, well, it was something that, you know, Halloween did it with the third movie, and they didn't have Michael Myers in it, and I think it was pretty cool. And I don't know, I just think they went for something, and no matter what people got from it, you still got a franchise afterwards that kept going. So what that movie did was it sort of has its fan base because it's kind of not only it's a standalone film, but from then, like, you had Zombie Jason because they had to bring him back from the dead somehow. I don't like that they didn't really close what happened at the end of 5. They really forget about that.
Well, I was supposed to do part 6 when I got.
I know.
Yeah, when I got part 5, I was signed to do 5 and 6. So 6 was going to start where 5 left off. That very last shot of me and
John
Shepherd behind me. 6 was going to start right there. So I think that would have been very interesting to go down that road. And so did Paramount until they saw all the feedback and the hatred from the fans and all that. So they decided to go back to the formula.
Yeah.
But I thought part 5 was courageous.
Yeah.
Endeavor on their part to try something different. And I think they did a good job of trying something different.
Yeah.
Perhaps if they had gone further with it, it might not have been the catastrophe they thought it was going to be. Who knows what part 6, how it would have been received. But they wanted to go back to the formula.
Yeah, and you like understand that when you think about it, but it's so fascinating because I was even reading, and I never knew it after just doing research and looking at all the Friday the 13th, like some behind the scenes. It seems like they do that with all of them. They're like, all right, we're going to continue the story. And then something happens. Because Feldman, were you already on board when Feldman was going to be in it or no?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Really?
Yeah. So, I thought it was adventuresome to try something like that and change it all up. But I think money talks.
Yeah. That's what it is.
That's what it is. And creativity sometimes is held back because of money. They want a sure thing. They want a sure thing, which is unfortunate sometimes. Because when you try something different, you're kind of shocked that, hey, this is a good idea, right?
Hey, this actually worked.
And that's creativity, trial and error. You fail, you do well, it works, it doesn't work, but that's how you find out.
Oh, 100%. I love your relationship with Reggie throughout the movie. That was good. I like that. And I always like that. That's why I love the Friday the 13th franchise, because I love that formula of whoever the final girl is, they leave and they come back to find everybody like just completely decimated while Reggie's trying to pass you off as his girlfriend. I love that line so much. Yeah. He's like 13 years old, and he's like, "Yeah, this is my girl. Come here, Pam."
He was so much fun to work with, and very professional. One of the most professional on the set. So that's always fun and easy. It makes your job easy. And we had a good time. I think that kind of came through in the final cut, that he and I gelled. We connected, and that's because we did on the set. He and I are still friends.
No, that's great. Did you guys? Where was that film? Was that in Massachusetts or no?
Los Angeles.
The whole movie was filmed in L.A.
Yep, filmed in L.A. in some of the suburbs, a town called Camarillo, which is about 45 minutes out of L.A. But all the chase scene, the running, all that chains, all that stuff was shot in L.A.
Oh, okay. Did people like wrap and go home, or did you guys stay on set? Like,
we wrapped and went home because we lived close enough, and the drivers would take me home even if it was an hour trip. The only problem for me was when we were doing night shoots, and I would start at 4 p.m. and shoot till about 7 or 8 a.m. And I needed to sleep because I had to come back. And I said, could you just put me up some cheap hotel, motel, right near the set so that I can go to sleep right away, but they wouldn't do it. So I had to go home. Home. That was my only not so happy.
Yeah. And you have the legendary, like the chainsaw. That's like a legendary shot. That photo of you with the chainsaw is like, I don't know. It just looks
one of my favorites.
So cool.
We had fun doing that scene. That was shot on Halloween night, the 31st of October. And that was a lot of fun. Yeah. People don't know that was shot on Halloween.
That's great. So after that movie, did you guys have, was there a premiere like in LA that you guys all went to?
A big premiere in Westwood, where they used to, in the 80s, do all the big movies, all the big premieres were done. So we were at this fabulous theater, red carpet, the whole thing. It was packed. The audience went crazy. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I went with the cast, some of the cast members, and we had just had a great time.
Was that the first time you saw any of it, or did they share? Oh, really? That's cool.
No. I got to see. Paramount had a cast and crew screening.
Oh, okay.
The night we went. Yeah, I got to see it. But that was my first time. The audience I was so shocked how crazy the audience went. I mean, the curtain opened, and then you hear the music, and the place just erupted. They were all screaming. It's great. That's when I realized the impact, the importance of the franchise. Up until that point, I didn't know.
Yeah.
But sitting in that audience, it hit me. I had no idea. The fans would be this loyal. I mean, look how many years it's been, and they still want to meet me or, write to me. And I get all kinds of letters about how it gave them, some kind of support going through high school or junior high where they were being bullied. I mean, the letters have been amazing.
Yeah.
That movie or my character impacted them in a way I would have never, ever imagined. To me, it was a role. I was thrilled to have it. I was trying to play the best character I could. It was a horror movie. I don't really like horror movies. And so to find out that it impacted so many young people has been a shock and such a great thing.
Yeah. That's so cool when you think about it. Just your journey, your mom driving you in like the 70s. Yeah. You live in the city at 18 and then 7 years later, you're the final girl in a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah. It's, but everybody's life, I'm sure, is, shocking. Things happen that you don't expect. Everyone's got a story.
I don't know who pitched it in the Crystal Lake Memories. It was one of the final girls, and they had a great idea because the next Friday the 13th, even though I don't know when it's going to come out because of everything going on, but it'll be the 13th. And I forgot who pitched it, and it would be great to have all the final girls and guys like
Mm-hmm.
all together
Mm-hmm.
in some kind of support thing, and
Mm-hmm.
then you have Jason come back.
Well, it would be interesting, wouldn't it?
It
Yeah.
would be great.
I don't know what's going to happen with that. There's so much red tape and
Ugh.
so many legal issues, which is unfortunate, you know. But that's the same with everything. I'm
No,
working,
yeah.
I'm working on a project now where I'm shocked at all the back stuff going on. You just want to make a movie, but there's all this other stuff and money people and people arguing, and it's really something.
Yeah.
Big business, you know. And it's probably the same in all other businesses. I just haven't been in another business.
Yeah. Now I would say Hollywood's probably one of the most politics, but hopefully somebody like the way the one in 2009, Michael Bay, like was behind. So hopefully somebody with that kind of gravitas name says, "Hey, I want to do a Friday the 13th," and maybe they'll let it happen, because that'd be great. So one thing I wanted to ask is, you talked about like getting the letters and everything. When did you? I know you saw it on the screen, and you know from doing like Broadway, which is great to talk to somebody that was doing like off Broadway and doing stage. You get that gratification. You have a great night. You go out at the end, the audience cheers, or there's a joke and they laugh. You get that. Sometimes when you make a movie, you really don't see it unless you go to a premiere, sit in the back of the audience. When was it that you really knew the impact of your character? Was it right around that time you started getting letters, or was it starting going to conventions?
It was around that time, and then it stopped. And then I didn't do conventions for many years. I did my first one, if you can believe that, because they were approaching me to do them. I didn't do them till 2011 was my first
Oh,
one.
wow.
Yeah. And the reason I started doing them, was somebody was forging my signature on pictures, and people were buying them. And that was something. People would contact me and send me a copy, and they said, "Is this your signature?" I said, "No." And they told me how much they spent on. I said, "Don't do that." So I thought, okay, I'm going to have to go and do this and charge people, which I didn't want to do. But what it did was, I got to meet people. They got to meet me, but I got to meet them, and I got to see, hear their stories, and got to see how it impacted them and what it meant to them. And that brought me so much insight into the whole franchise, because I didn't quite understand it before that, you know. But it's great meeting the people, and I'm glad I'm doing the conventions. But I was also met with, like I said, it was a love-hate thing. I was met with a lot of hate, which was startling in 2011, 2012.
Really?
It was really uncomfortable. So I started doing them in Europe, where all I got was love. But I will say in America, there was a lot of hate. And I would say to people, you know, it was just a role I played. I didn't write it. It was Jason to me, because I didn't know any different. You know, I was being chased by a masked killer.
Yeah.
And my character thought it was Jason, and that's how I played the role. So, you know, it was interesting to find out how important this Jason guy was to the franchise, you know, because people really got angry. Really. And I didn't want to do conventions for a while. And then it calmed down.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to either if I'm just going there.
Yeah, because I had no preconceived or any kind of warning that people do hate you.
Yeah.
For the part. So for playing the role in a movie where Jason wasn't in.
I know. I always tell people, whenever people are like, "Oh, I hate remakes or sequels," because that's what we cover, I'm like, all right, don't watch them. You don't have to watch it.
Yeah. And I get it. Sometimes I think something shouldn't have a sequel. They shouldn't be remade, or, you know. But, you know, everyone has a different opinion. I just don't think you should attack or be vicious to an actor who was in the project. You know, they're just
100%.
So, but I met a lot of great people, and I still do. And the letters really started coming in then, after I did the first convention. And I started learning about how it impacted people. It was shocking to me, but I'm glad it did. Yeah. And not just my movie. I mean, so many movies and so many of the franchise impacted people. And that's a good thing. because a lot of the stories to me have come from LGBTQ, kids that were bullied, kids that had suicidal issues, and they said that my movie or some of the others gave them a kind of a role model, a survivor, and that was interesting to me and nice to hear. Nice to hear. So I'm glad.
It's crazy when you think about that. You film a movie for X amount of months, and then just the impact it has years later. I've interviewed directors that thought after they made a movie, nobody would watch it and they never talk about it. And then they're doing like interviews with me or going to conventions or showing it at a, Alamo Draft House. And they're like, when we wrapped on this movie, I didn't think I'd have to talk about it ever again.
That's funny. It's
fascinating.
I found out early on that I would have to talk about it because I did right away.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it would go on happily this long. I mean, I thought it would be forgotten in a couple of years. So
never.
I'm startled and I'm happily surprised that they haven't forgotten. It still baffles me, but I'm grateful because I've made a lot of friends, and then a lot of fans. So it's been uplifting for me, and I thank the fans all the time for being so loyal and caring and loving it so much,
That's awesome. So then from there, how was it out in LA? Like, did you try, I know the theater scene's not much, but were you trying to do any theater at all while you were there too?
Yeah, I did a couple of plays. I did Dracula, the Frank Langella one. I did one here in LA, downtown LA. That was fun. I did a couple of plays, original things. One was called Diamonds. It was written by the guy who wrote Mata Hoople.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
Well, it's not the same as New York. So,
oh no,
that was disappointing. But there was a theater scene much more than there is now. So I try to create projects. I did a one-woman show, things like that. But it's definitely not the same as New York. You kind of have to.
Do you love that more? Is that like your passion? Like, would you rather be on stage than screen?
I love them both. They're different.
Yeah.
What I love about theater is what you said. It's immediate. You're right there. The audience is right there. And it's instant. The feedback is instant. There's kind of a connection with the audience, even though you're in the character. There's some kind, you feel them there. You don't have that on the set. You're kind of playing to the crew on the set.
Yeah.
And in some of my scenes and some of the films I've done, it's been a closed set. So it's me alone with, maybe 10 crew members. So it's different. It's different. I do love theater. Yeah. For that reason. Yeah. Although there's some things shoot like I did Cheers. They shoot like it's a Broadway show. So we had rehearsal from Monday through Friday. You rehearse it like it's a live theater show. And then Friday night, it's shot in front of a live audience. So it's so much like being in a theater piece. Yeah. And to work with those people was unbelievable. I worked with the whole cast. It was mind-blowing. Yeah.
Shows don't do that much anymore, but it was the same showrunners, but like Frasier did that. And I just heard how like insane that was. But even if you look back at like Mork and Mindy, that was like the hottest ticket in town. Like to go to Mork and Mindy, like the live filming of it, but Cheers. Yeah. To be on that. Jesus.
Yeah. That was incredible. And I felt at home because it was a live audience and the preparation. You like a Broadway show, you rehearse off Broadway, all the, off Broadway, you rehearse for a long time and then you have previews. So Cheers, we rehearsed all week, all day. And then we did it in a live audience. So, yeah.
And it was Boston. So you could throw on, do you have a Boston accent you could throw on?
No, I had a little bit of a New York one, which I had to go to speech classes to lose. It comes back if I'm relaxed. People pick up the New York thing, but yeah, you have to work on not having it. I never had a Massachusetts accent. I really didn't.
No.
And I don't know why. But
how far? What part of Massachusetts is that?
Western Mass. Holyoke is near Springfield, Mass. It's near Amherst, where there's University of Massachusetts.
Okay.
And it's very close to Hartford, Connecticut. So
maybe it's out of that dialect. I'm in like Central Jersey. I don't have a Jersey accent.
No,
I've
you
lived here
don't.
my whole life.
My Jersey friends have an
That's a
accent.
good thing.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. The New York one's tough to lose. Yeah. And Jersey one too. But yeah, you're the first guy from Jersey that I've met that doesn't have it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I heard that all the time, and I'm like, all right, cool. I guess let's see. No, I don't want to say coffee or.
It's one less thing to lose, one less crutch.
Yeah. So you said you're filming something soon. So what are some of the things in like 90s, 2000s? Because your last credit on here, I'm sure you're still obviously doing stuff because there's no Broadway on here.
Yeah.
Were you still doing stuff in the 90s, like theater wise?
I don't know why it's not on there, IMDb, but I've done a bunch of stuff.
It doesn't update.
I don't know. And I just finished a few months ago. I finished another horror film, 1970 style horror film, which was a lot of fun. It's the old school kind of thing. And I play the villain in this, so that's good. Something different. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And, when I'm allowed to give the title and all the details, I will do that. I'm also in talks to do a show in New York. It's a theater piece, and it is a horror movie musical.
Whoa.
So it's the first one, they claim, where it's all musical, set to music, but it's a horror movie show play.
That'd be something.
Something different. It's very exciting. So hopefully it gets picked up and it goes, and I'll be in New York doing that. But yes.
Oh, you gotta let me know if that happens.
I will. I mean,
wow.
Think about that.
That's cool.
Set to music.
Like Friday the 13th, like a kill scene, like you have the victim singing to Jason, like, don't kill me. I can't sing at all.
Singing while you're dying, singing while you're stabbing, singing while you're running. Yeah. And good songs. I mean, the writer is great, so we'll see.
Oh, I hope that happens. That's great.
Me too.
Well, I love to, one question I always have to ask folks. Oh, and then another thing about your credits is Best of the Best is a movie that I love because I love Eric Roberts, and I was lucky enough to chat with him a few years ago.
Yes.
And I think that movie, and I love the sequel of it. Mm-hmm. So, you're rolling it. You were probably on it for a few days.
Yes. I auditioned for that. I had 15 callbacks. 15.
Oh my.
They dragged this out for 3 months. I wanted this role desperately. And I was a fan of Eric Roberts. He was one of my favorite actors. I think that Poker Greenwich Village was great. And so I was thrilled to get it. I finally got it after 15 auditions. And like I said, I started auditioning in January, and I didn't start shooting it until March, and it was audition after audition after audition. And then when I met Eric on the set, we rehearsed, and before we were doing the scene, he said to me, we knew right away it was you. And I said, then why did you make me come back 15 times? And we laughed, but it's grueling. Anyway, so I'm thrilled. I'm on the set. I'm doing it. Chris Penn, who I liked, he was in it. So I have 3 scenes with Eric. I'm the love interest. And it was thrilling. It was great. We became friends. Okay, now fast forward to the casting crew screening that they always invite you to. And I went with my agent because I was thrilled. I got these scenes with Eric Roberts. And the film starts to roll, and all of my scenes were cut. And no one told me. So we're sitting there, and I said to my agent, I'm up next. I'm up next. The scene is next. Not there. They skipped to something else. Anyway, they did 3 times. The scenes are gone. Credits roll. My name is in the credits. And I still get residuals. Yeah. But I'm not in the movie. But thank God my name is still in the credits, because otherwise people would think I made it up and none of this happened. No, I'm in the credits. And because I'm in the credits, I get the residual. So I still make money off of it. But I would have been thrilled to be in the film. I was devastated.
Yeah. What was did you have you had a character name in it?
Yeah,
And then
but
they just changed it to
the woman. They called me the woman in the credits. The woman. Yeah, boy, it took me a long time to get over that. Now I can talk about it. I'm telling you, for years I couldn't talk about it. It was
Oh, I don't blame you.
that devastating. Now at conventions, people will come to me with the poster, Best of the Best, and ask me to sign it. I said, "You really?" They think the story is great. It's like folklore at this point. And I said, "You really want me to sign?" Yes, you were in it. So I signed it. I signed your poster.
I'd love to see a photo of like you in it. There's
all I wanted. I begged them. I said, "Can you give me the deleted scenes? I can put it on my reel. Can you just give me the scenes with Eric?"
Yeah.
They don't have them. Yeah, but now it's ancient history. But I cannot tell you how devastating that was.
To go to it, yeah. I helped this actor write a book, this guy Larry Hankin. He had a similar story in Pretty Woman. He played the landlord. He played the landlord, and he took a date at the time. Sure. And he goes to her, "Hey, you gotta pay attention. Come on, my scene's coming up." And then it's only the back of his head in the opening shot, and you can like hear his voice a little bit, but he has 2 or 3 scenes with Julia Roberts as the landlord cut out of the movie. And he knew the director, like, because he was on Laverne and Shirley 2 times in the 70s, and he has a pretty funny story about interacting with Gary Marshall. So that's what made it even funnier, because he thought it was in his head. He thought it was payback from an incident that happened on Laverne and Shirley. But to go to the premiere and I'm glad you got over it.
I went with my agent. My agent had been through the whole thing with me. Of all the auditions, he knew how much I wanted it. I said, "Oh God, I'm getting close." He said, "Well, they said it's great. You're getting close." So finally I get the call that I got it. And I cannot tell you how thrilled I was. And to work with them was great. And then to have that happen, I couldn't talk about it.
I don't blame you. So I have 2 more questions. One is, when you did the cast and crew screening of A New Beginning, was it already with the cuts made, or were you able to see it with all the special effects? Because I know a ton of it got chopped.
It was already with the cuts. Yeah.
It was?
Yeah. And they cut some of my scenes that were just showing who Pam was, with the character development kind of stuff. There were scenes that it had nothing to do with violence. It was really sweet scenes, and they're cut. And they explained to me they have to do this because we have to make room for the kills, because people care about the kills. That's what people want. They want the death. So I was a little bit disappointed at that screening to see that so much of it was cut, with Pam stuff. But I understand.
Yeah, and just again, I don't know if it's like true or not. They said in the documentary, like Danny Steinman, that like he was told like every 8 minutes there has to be a death on camera. So I guess that could happen. But no, that stinks, because those movies, that's what you love, is that's what I think that people love about the Friday the 13th movies, because there's so many characters. Really, when you think about it, there's so many characters, but you get this little vignette of each character, whether it's your character, even like Reggie's brother, who he's a great actor. I can't think of the name off the top of my head.
Miguel Nunez, yeah.
Yes, and a ton of stuff. But even you barely see him. And you like get to know these people for a short 5 to 7 minutes. It's almost like so many short films within a movie. And I think that's what people love about Friday the 13th, because you're really watching these little different scenes that are totally like these different movies within a movie.
Right. That's interesting.
That's cool. Like the fact that they could take something that got cut from 4 and put it in 5, and it really has nothing to do with the movie. It's just the death of the one ambulance driver with the girl at the diner that says it's showtime. But a question I always love to ask people: if you didn't do this, was there something else that when you were growing up that you were like, you know what, if I don't make it, I'm gonna do blank? Did you have like another thing in mind career wise?
Yes, I was, and I did it, before I did films and stuff. I was a dance teacher. So
Oh, you were a dance teacher?
I was
Nice.
a dance teacher. Yep. And I still do it in LA sometimes. I give private lessons. I teach ballet and jazz and some tap dancing. And so I usually teach young girls who aspire to be professional. So they're people with dance ability, and I'm not just, it's young girls, 16, 17 years old that want to be professional dancers. And so I teach that. Just to
That's
keep my
great.
just to keep my hand in it, and it's fun and I love doing it, and then I get a workout. So
Yeah, and you have the experience, so you could teach
yeah,
somebody about, yeah, not even just teaching the moves, but even just your conversation. It's always great to people to learn from people that have the experience and have done
mm-hmm,
it, and the fact
mm-hmm,
that you've done it in New York, which where
mm-hmm,
everybody wants to go to.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like New York and LA, and you've done it in both places.
yeah, yeah. And it's fun for me to be with these young girls and see their excitement, starting out, and they have so many questions and ideas. It's really interesting. We throw ideas back and forth, and they teach me about TikTok, and yeah,
Nice.
so we'll put
I
together.
don't know any of that stuff either, so
Well,
that's good that you have people
we'll
teaching
put
you.
together a TikTok thing that I wouldn't have normally done if it wasn't for them. So it's good. And I tell them about stuff, and I show them stuff that they never heard of, you know.
Like a
Uh,
payphone or 1-800 collectors.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We saw a payphone the other day. My daughter's really young, but I was trying to explain it to her, and she was just like, she's like 3.5, and she just looked at me like, "What?
Isn't
Why
that
would I use that?" She's like,
how
"What?"
we take for granted? Isn't that amazing that they
Yeah,
don't have any of that? Wow.
no, there's no fathom because you have the cell phone. They wouldn't even like,
Oh my gosh.
even jokes wise, like my wife's teacher in middle school, like
Uh-huh.
references and things she would mention, kids wouldn't understand. Like calling one, I never had a cell phone when I was younger, but
No.
calling like my dad 1-800 collect, and then when it says like leave your name and saying hey pick me up,
Uh-huh.
like that was it, and that's how
Yeah.
you used to get a ride home, like when
Oh
you didn't have a
God.
phone.
Yeah. We didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, and now you know what? Now you think, how did I ever live without it?
Oh, I know, it's crazy.
You get stuck by the side of the road, especially in LA before cell phones. You had to walk to a call box. I don't know how females lived without a cell phone in their car in case you got a flat tire.
Oh,
But we did. But we forget that
you,
because now I can't live without it. It's protection.
yeah,
There's a feeling of security.
it's a safety, yeah, like a security safety blanket, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
But I do hate that we have them all the time, and I try not to use mine as much. I see people walking down the street with it and bumping into things, and you're at a concert or at a movie, and somebody's
Oh, that kills me
yeah. So
when people like film through they're looking at the concert through their phone.
yeah, what are you
When
doing?
you'll find that concert on YouTube, it's not like you're ever going to watch that video. There's so many videos that I did when I was younger, and then
Mm-hmm.
until I realized that, I'm like, when am I going to watch this again? Like, what am I going to sit there for 4 minutes and be like, oh, this is great, Steve Miller Band on my cell phone? I'm like, I can listen to it or find the concert online somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Right, right. No, sometimes
Crazy.
it's bad because we're not present. We're in the phone. So I
Oh,
try not to do it.
Melanie, this has been awesome. I really hope that horror musical happens in the city. Let me know. I'll keep tabs on you for it.
I will, and I'm going to be doing conventions around. I'm doing Motor City Nightmares,
Oh, cool.
July 29th, 30th, and 31st in Detroit. But I will be in Atlantic City in September
Oh, cool.
during your convention, so I'll let you know.
I'm not that far from AC. Yeah, I got to go to one of those. I have a son coming in July, so I
Wow.
don't know. Yeah,
Wow. Congratulations.
thank you.
Wow.
But
So,
yeah. Now those horror conventions are so cool. Like I think we mentioned before. I don't want to say it, like beat a dead horse, but I think it's so cool that the people that made that film X amount of years ago
mhm.
can really know the love, because unless they go on to online and read comments on YouTube and stuff or like on IMDb or something, they really
Right.
never know. So it's cool to get that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, it's been great talking to you. It's nice to
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing your story
know.
with me. I had a blast. And I'll make sure to put any links or anything to your social media so people can follow you. And we'll keep in touch, Melanie. Thank you so much.
Best of luck with the family.
Thank you.
It's very exciting.
Man, wasn't Melanie fun? I really hope, man, that play, a horror play on Broadway. I want it. I want to see it. And, I love talking to Melanie. And how about this story about Best of the Best? Like going to the premiere. Like we've heard that from actors before, but not that. Like everything being cut. She had like 4 or 5 scenes with Eric Roberts as the love interest. And they just completely cut that from the movie. It's gotta be so heartbreaking, but she, like she said, she still gets residuals from it. But, man, her legacy is so cool when it comes to the franchise. And I really hope that they do make the 13th and they have all the final guys and gals back, because man, that'd be so cool to see, Pam Roberts wield the chainsaw once again. So your homework, Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. It's free on Pluto TV. So you can watch that on any app, on your TV, online. Pluto TV rules, and a couple ads, but who cares? You get this movie that has the most gore, the most boobs, and God, some great acting. The acting in this movie is really good. Not saying the other movies don't have great acting, but I don't know. You see people really like give it their all? When you watch it, or you've seen it before, you know it. Ethel. All right? So, don't forget to review, rate, share our podcast. Follow us on all social media at Sequels Only. And don't forget to check out our website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.
Good night, guys.